Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gather around the TV. That moment is here again. The Bill Crane Report with my friend Dwayne Weiss and I is on the air. Dwayne was just telling me a story off camera about his uncle trying to start an outboard motor.
My father-in-law.
Your father-in-law.
Yeah.
And it never flipped the switch from off to on.
To run, yeah.
And he was sitting there cursing it, yanking on the pull cord.
And I said, "Oh, it's not my motor or anything." But I said, "There's a button there that says run and off. It's on off. Maybe you should push that up." And he just gave me that look like, oh. And
Well,
he was embarrassed.
I worked with a bunch of whack jobs over the Foxborough Company. When I first joined the company, I was in the stock room with a bunch of beauties. And Bert Newell was one of the guys. Bert was along in years, kind of crusty. He liked to beat up on me. So one night we were raising hell with Bert, and he said, "I'll settle this. I'm going to call Vinnie Roach, the boss." Up at he had his office was quite a ways away from where we were. So we're standing there, and Bert's standing there looking at the telephone, and looking and looking and looking. "What's wrong, Bert?" "I don't know. The call won't go through." "Well, Bert, you got to pick the phone up and dial the number." He swore at us, threw the phone, and stomped out. It was one of the funniest things I ever saw.
We've all done idiot stuff like that. It's dumb. Just mine was with.
I don't know whether he expected the phone to ring and Vinny to be there or what. But
I used to try to teach Monica to run the snowblower. We had a big 8 horsepower large Toro, and that was before I had somebody plow. And where I traveled a lot, I said, you better get a snowstorm here that you're going to have to start the snowblower and blow yourself out of so you can get out of the driveway. Okay. And it wasn't electric start yet then. They were just coming in. It was a compression release, so it would still pull pretty hard for an 8 horsepower motor. And I said, all right, you do this and this. And I said, the last thing, you make sure the oil is full. The last thing you do is look in that gas tank to make sure there's fuel in it. She gave me this look like, yeah, okay.
yeah, right.
So next time she goes to start it, I said, all right, you do it. I knew it was empty because I ran it out dead dry the last time I ran it.
Bad man.
And she's out there pulling and pulling and pulling. I let her pull for about 5 or 10 minutes on that thing. She said, "I can't start that." I said, "What was the procedures?" I said, "Well, I checked the oil. I checked that. I didn't look in the gas can. Take a look. Oh my God, it's dry." She, "Did you know that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "But you won't forget it again, will you?"
She went in the house at that point,
Yeah,
didn't
she was
she?
pretty mad then. But I said, "You won't forget again."
Well, Dwayne,
Yeah.
we have a very important holiday coming up shortly. This is October 29th, a couple of days before Halloween. But next week, the week after, we have Veterans Day.
Yep. And
So talk a little bit about Veterans Day.
we mentioned on the last show this to stay cognizant of vets. Today, Veterans Day is a day, I think, for on here is when Macy's hold a sale. They always have a big Veterans Day sale. They never give anything that I can see to the veterans. They just use the veterans' name. Now, we own a big gratitude of debt. We own a large debt to the veterans. All of us got brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents that some of them gave their life for this country.
Right.
And we just kind of, it's just what it is. I'd like to see veterans, not just because Bill and I are both veterans, but remembered more than just at Veterans Day.
Yeah,
We're not
it's true.
asking for any kind of
No.
anything special. It's
No.
just I see there's a movement now particularly in Massachusetts, probably other states too, to eliminate that veterans preference on the state
On the
jobs.
civil service
civil
exams,
service. Yeah, now that's crazy.
It
That's
is.
just nuts.
It is. You're absolutely right. There is one other move, though, I notice in Massachusetts, in stores. Now, veterans, when they renew their driver's license, can have the word veteran put on
I did
their
that.
license. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, with that, when you go into a store, and all you guys that are veterans, speak right up and say, now, do I get a veterans discount? Well, I can tell you something. There are plenty of stores that give them.
Yep. There's a lot of them they got to ask.
It's
Now,
a-
they want to, rightly so. They want a proof. And when
Yep.
like Bill says, when you go to the DMV, if you get a new license, ask to put it in. It doesn't cost anything. It's right on the bottom, where it says organ donor and all that other stuff. It's the word in blue right across the bottom. It says veteran.
Now, you have to bring your
DD
DD
214.
214 with you, okay, and show it. Now, by law, no one other than you can make a copy of the DD 214.
That's right.
So if somebody says, well, I have to go make a copy of this, no way. You look at it, or else I will go with you and I will make the copy and I'll give it to you. But by law, you're not allowed to do that. But
Just for the aside, I know there's one or two people saying, "What is a DD 214?" A DD 214 is your record of your military service.
your honorable
The
discharge.
day you went in to the day you left, everything you did and didn't do, and your accomplishments and punishments if you were.
And your rank.
Yep, and you got thrown in the brig. Hell, that's in there too.
So, but now, go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, go over to the Rentham Outlet malls. I'm not going to tell you every store offers a veterans discount. Every one that I've bumped into over there does, though. I mean, how about 15% off New Balance shoes?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and you continue to go down to the Walpole Mall. What's the big store in the Walpole Mall? Macy's, not Macy's.
Kohl's.
Kohl's. Now, Kohl's doesn't give it to you every day, but it's either Monday or Wednesday, and you can call them and ask them. 10% discount for veterans.
Yeah, I know it's probably too late now. Time this is on the air, but I know I just saw today at 99 restaurants is free lunch or free dinner for a veteran
Well,
off their $9.99 menu. But that's a nice
that's
menu.
okay.
Yeah, they do at least do something.
That's right.
Um,
So, when you stop and think about veterans, when Pearl Harbor was bombed, within days, there were lines at recruiting centers going all the way around city blocks.
Yep.
Young men that realized what this country was up against and said, I have to do my part. And they went and stood in those lines and joined the Army. They went overseas, or the Marine Corps or the Navy, but they went in and they did their part. Now, some of them saw combat. Some of them lost their lives.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, it was a proud moment in this country when we reflect on how the young men in this country reacted.
oh, yeah. When we saw the last draft with Vietnam, the object of most of these people was, how am I going to get out of this?
Yeah, I want a high number.
Yeah, I want a
Could I
high
buy
number, or am I going to have a shin splint, or
Yeah.
whatever it was. Like Bill was talking, in those days, they thought was, how am I going to get into the
Yeah.
military? There was 14, 15-year-olds trying to lie through their teeth, saying, oh, I'm 18, absolutely, and he's probably just a freshman in high school.
Audie Murphy the most decorated soldier in World War II, joined. He was 2 years underage,
Yep.
and he joined. This country stood tall. They bellied right up to the bar, and they did their duty. And we should be proud of every single one of them. And then later on, we have Korea, we have Vietnam. It just kept on going, you know. And the young men serve, and God bless them all. And you know, I've had people say to me, well, yeah, but you know, you were drafted, you were in for 2 years, and what did you do, you know? Well, I can tell you what I did. I left my family.
Yep.
And gave up 2 years of my life.
That's right.
All right? And I went to a foreign country. Germany is a foreign country, right?
Still is.
And spent 20 of my 24 months over there. Now, not getting any medals for bravery for anything I did, but by the same token,
But you did something.
I did it.
That's
And
important.
so did everybody
Yeah.
else of my age group.
Yep.
There's a couple of guys that got out, they failed the physical or what have you, but we went. It was our duty to go.
And that's a word that's a key word right
Yeah.
there, is duty. I don't think you can't say all, because there's still some, but that 18 to 24, 25-year-old, particularly that group, they don't understand that four-letter word.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you know, we have it too good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. The responsibility is another good word.
That's another
that
word
gets
that they-
glossed
yeah.
over also. There was something else we wanted to talk about. Yes, the North Church.
North Church. We've all been to North Church, or at least heard about North Church. Even an old curmudgeon like me actually got off the tour one time to go see North Church, and it was interesting, but it was just.
We did it on a class trip.
Did you?
Yeah,
Okay,
in
that
the
would've
8th
been good.
grade or something like that.
But it was kind of impressive, and you think about what this history and stuff behind it. Well, it's probably going to have to be destroyed now, because hold on to your hats, folks. It's associated with slavery. We
Well-
can't have anything in this country that
That's right.
had an association with slavery. They don't want Faneuil Hall. They want statues taken down.
They take statues
They
down.
take that statues down. They had to change Yawkey Way because of race thing, and that it's become Jersey Street or some stupid thing. All this kind of crap. Now they're going to make a fuss about North Church. It seems that some of the people that were the shakers and the movers and everything, I don't mean shakers and shakers, but the
Right.
movers and shakers there were slave owners.
Yeah, yeah,
And they actually brought in slaves there, and they traded slaves in there.
yeah, yeah.
How can you have a thing like that on your conscience, to have a thing like that? There actually, now I was being facetious, but there's actually in the article a couple of people that are proposing change the name from North Church to something else, or eliminate it.
You know, a plaque or a plaque and a mural or something like that honestly depicts their role,
That's it, right. That's
Would
exactly
be-
what it should be.
an excellent thing to put in there. But that's it.
Yep.
I mean, you recognize your sins and But here's the thing, folks. 1734 or some such age is one of the dates that seems to me I saw in that article. Well, you know what? That's getting pretty close to 300 years ago.
Yeah, it says here that recent research has shown that slave traders and slave owners were the financial backing behind building North Church. So it was built with slave money.
Yeah.
So that
But the point is,
it's-
folks, that
it's history.
yeah, and my anti my yeah, I'm losing my mind here, but my ancestors were in Ireland. They were, I mean, we're probably 10 or 12, 14 generations removed.
Yeah.
And I had other ancestors in Germany, and some in England. They didn't take place in the slave business in Boston. Heck, I believe that our family came from Ireland in the 1850s or 1860s. I think it was the potato famine drove them over here. How the heck should we be responsible? I mean, what is this collective guilt that we drop on everyone for what happened 300 years ago?
Well, the word is what called right now is white guilt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the more liberal you are, the more white guilt you have. Well, that's ridiculous. Any more than
Absolutely
brown guilt or
ridiculous.
red guilt or
Yeah.
you're not responsible for what your ancestors did.
No.
We have long stopped putting the kids of debtors in prison. There was a time if your father, your grandfather ran up a big debt, hell, you could have been thrown in prison as a grandson. You didn't have anything to do with it.
In a workhouse.
Yeah, in a workhouse to pay
You
it
got
off.
4 years to work to pay it off. Yeah.
We quit that kind of stuff.
It doesn't make sense.
No,
In this business about white guilt, I'm very proud of my uncles, grandparents, hard workers. One went in the Marines, one went in the Army, two went in the Army, three went in the Army, I think. Well, anyway, they answered the call. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the role that the Irish have played in this country. And the Germans.
You can be proud of what you do and not degenerate or denigrate somebody else. It doesn't mean because I'm proud of what I did, I'm going to put Bill down for what he did or his ancestry.
Exactly.
The two do not relate.
Can't possibly be responsible for something that happened 15 generations ago. I mean, good Lord, this is insanity.
But we've got some really strange ideas coming up, and I saw last night between the football, like the halftime stuff. I'd switch over to like Fox News or CNN just to. I can't stand sitting through commercials tonight. My wife drives my wife crazy. She said, "You're gonna wear that thing down, just flipping back and forth."
The laughing hyenas on the halftime shows, the ex-football players, trying to be funny or stale jokes or acting like buffoons. God, drive me nuts.
But last night they were talking about. I switched over and they were talking about things like this, and it made a lot of sense, you know. But today, there's a group coming into Washington that I think not only lunatics, but like they said last night, they can be dangerous. If you get a lunatic as president, and then you start electing these lunatics, these AOCs and the what's her name, the one from
Ayanna Presley.
Ayanna Presley and
the other one, Hamid, or whatever the hell her name is. Yeah.
The scarf on, and I can't think of her name now anyway. But the rest of them, you get a group of them, you start getting a majority in the two houses. Now you got the ability to change this country.
Yep. And it'll be like, what caused the fall of the Roman Empire. It'll be that all over again.
exactly.
What caused the end of American democracy in the free enterprise system? This free enterprise system works remarkably well. We've built a civilization, the envy of practically every country in the world. And this business about being jealous of successful people is, why don't you work harder and be successful yourself, or rather than want to take what somebody else has worked for.
That's pretty much what socialism is.
Yep, it is wrong. Absolutely
In its
wrong.
purest form, it's called communism.
Yep. Well, I have something very interesting, folks. Dwayne and I probably shouldn't tell you this because I know you've got a very, very high opinion of us both.
Now, we can
But-
tell by the fan base there.
That's it. I'm telling you. But, well, I might as well let you in on another little secret. But Dwayne and I have a think tank. And we send information, ideas, and all to various people. And the generous rewards haven't started coming in yet.
They're
coming?
They're on the horizon.
Well, one of the ones we've come up with is, I don't know if you folks remember, but the Big Dig in Boston. Well, it was Ted Kennedy guaranteed that if this was passed by the Senate, he guaranteed it would never exceed
Yep.
$3.4 billion or $3.6 billion, I forget.
3 something. And it
And
wouldn't
he-
take over 3 or 4 years, too.
And
That
he
was it.
pounded his fist. Well, you know how long it took. And now figuring interest on loans, on payments, on equipment, and now some of the shoddy workmanship that has to be prepared, we're probably well north of 30 billion. Yeah.
It'll be, when you take everything together, construction costs alone are almost
Oh, yeah,
18 billion.
Yeah.
And they keep, we're still not done with that,
That's right.
folks.
It still leaks.
That still leaks like a sieve. They expected that all tunnels leak. And the engineering program, well, they laid it out and they say, well, this is how much we expect this to leak. Seepage, I think, is what they call it. They don't like to use the word leak in a tunnel.
Right.
So they figure around 100,000 gallons a day.
Yeah.
That's probably almost 2 million gallons a day. The
That's
seepage.
seepage. A little bit more than seepage. So anyway, Dwayne and I have been working on this problem because they're talking about a direct line between South Station and North Station, but it would have to be underground to connect the two stations. So Dwayne and I are working on a plan. Now, just sit there for a second and let me tell you another little story. The biggest structure ever built by rodents is a 2,800-foot beaver dam in the national park in Canada. We think that if we were able to come up with 5,000 beaver, they could dig that tunnel
Absolutely.
right under, and it would only cost roots, bark,
A few birch bark trees, a few
Carrots.
aspens, some
Yep.
bark here,
Yep.
a few sticks.
So we're going to present this to the State House in Boston. So if you happen to hear us on national TV or something with this idea, remember you heard it here first.
And they're also planning to hire upwards of 1 million gophers and moles to help with the digging, too.
Man, I'm telling you, this is all just falling right into place.
The problem we're going to run into, though, is the beaver union.
Well, we're going to have to work our way around it.
right, well.
I mean, I got to sit down and talk with the head beaver.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, can you imagine? There'll be no leaks in that tunnel.
Nope.
Beavers will build dams.
That's right.
I'll tell you, this, folks, is pure genius. Thomas Jefferson. I have.
Can't even keep a straight face on this one.
Thomas Jefferson. I have. Whenever I see it, brilliance,
Yep.
I like to write quotations. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just."
Yep.
Thomas obviously doesn't think too much of some of the things that go on in our country.
No, not even then. Yeah,
Boy, I'll tell you, take a look at Washington. Take a look at the State House here in Boston. Yeah. Yep. Well, let's see what else. Oh, Dwayne,
yes, sir.
take a look at that.
Oh, of the tower over South Station.
Here's another thing, folks. Back in 2006, they designed a tower to be built on top of South Station. Now, and it's not going to disrupt anything, the construction.
Of course not.
So now they're getting closer to actually doing it. It's going to be a 349-foot tall hotel and a 279-foot tall office building atop South Station. Now, you know, next time I go into South Station to catch the train to go home, and I'm sitting at McDonald's having a cup of coffee, I'll just think about all that weight that's up overhead.
And as old as that building is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They couldn't figure any place else to build a monstrosity like this.
We come up with the ideas are crazy. Well, Bill and I were talking before. You've seen in the Globe the past couple of weeks a full-page ad about relocating the drop-off and pick-off up point for a Lyft and an Uber ride. Right now, you can still take your Uber. I've never used Uber, but we go in. We usually take the. If we don't drive it in, we go to Braintree and get the Massport bus. But if you use Uber, and a lot of thousands of people do every day, they take you on, they drop you right off in front of your, just like a cab, right in front of your airline. You get out and they help you to take your luggage in. No more. They have now decided that the Uber drivers, I use Uber and Lyft interchangeably, that they now have to go to a special place in Terminal C in the middle. That means if you're in a cab or Uber car and you got your luggage and everything else and you're going to say Delta, which is in Terminal A, the first one you get to, and you go and see, he says, where are you going? Well, Delta, and you're going by. He says, wait a minute, we just went by Delta. He says, yeah, I know, I can't stop and let you off. We go to Terminal B. We just went by another terminal. Yeah, I know I can't let you off. I got to let you off at C. Well, how do I get back there? Well, you got to walk. You got to carry your luggage, and you know that's not a good thing for me because I don't walk well anymore. A young man like Bill, he doesn't have any problem with it.
Right.
But you know, people are taking Uber cars with kids and family, and they've got loads of luggage. Everything. You can't drop it off anymore because the Uber cars are causing traffic. Well, they're still causing the same amount of traffic to get to this middle of the thing. And before they would have dropped off you at A if you're going on Delta, turn around and left. Now they got to drive halfway across the airport to let you off. Why that would not have more traffic is crazy. and why that is such a big deal. And that ad in the newspaper was a full page. These things cost $200,000, north of $200,000. There was some color, two of them, to tell you why that's such a great deal. Well, that's crazy. That's $500,000 right there. It's probably spent just on those two ads.
Do you know what this is proof of? The power of the unions.
Oh, absolutely.
The Lyft and Uber
They don't
are
want that.
not union men.
And the lobby power of the cabs. The cabs have no problem. They can drop you off at the
That's right.
They can pick you up where you want to go. Now this reminds me of an old saying that, and one of the sports guys said it years and years ago. He said, "Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining." Because these ads tried to tell you how great this was. Well, it wasn't that great. You know what they were doing to your leg and telling you it was raining.
And also, I'll go back to the Big Dig. That was going to solve all the traffic problems in Boston.
Southeast Expressway, you were going to zip right through. Boy, you're just going to. That 9 miles takes over an hour.
Now it is twice as bad as it ever was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of course, if they hadn't put the Big Dig in, it may be 4 times worse now.
knows?
But nonetheless, they didn't solve
But you know,
the
we go
problem.
back to Teddy Kennedy and that. One of the big shakers and movers, and the blame for this thing was Tip O'Neill.
All right.
He started this idea as a gift to the trade unions.
Mm-hmm.
They supported him in his political career all these years. I'll give you this gift. It was
And
a
that's
big boondoggle
he
from day
and Teddy
one.
Kennedy both
Yep.
talked about the jobs that this was going to create.
Yep.
Yeah, it did. It created 25 years worth of, and maybe
Next time you drive into the
18
Ted Williams
years worth of
Tunnel, just
jobs.
remember there are 4,000 loads of bad concrete in there.
Yeah, that's another comforting thought.
4,000 loads of concrete that does not meet code.
Yeah.
All because of,
Payola.
yep.
Yep, absolutely. What am I going to do with this bad load? Eat it?
No.
No. Back it right up over there. And
Well, we were
yeah.
mixing it bad because it was cheaper.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know what I was thinking about the other day, too, was secrecy. Why? Why all the secrecy in politics? Because they've got something to hide.
Oh, there's no transparency.
You know, Massachusetts Senate and House deliberate in secrecy, making deals, agreements, budget numbers in secret.
Mm-hmm.
The Attorney General, in her investigation of the state police, which will never see the light of day, and Governor Baker's investigation into the mess at the RMV will never be seen by the voters.
Nope.
Look at Nancy Pelosi in her secret impeachment witch hunt. Look at her handling of Obamacare, done in secret,
everything's done in
behind
secret.
closed doors. What's the one common denominator that runs through all these stories? All the people involved have dirty hands, and the facts cannot stand the light of day.
That's right. As soon as you start doing something with behind closed doors in secret, being the suspicious kind of person that I am, I'm thinking, who's getting screwed in this deal?
Got something-
Somebody is. Something's
Got
going
something
on.
to hide.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. And the House lawmakers were upbraided about this secrecy, and they're just doubling down on it. They're not going to let the people see what's going on. Not going to do it. All right, here's a sobering thought. The weekend of October 19th through the 21st, 31 people were shot in Chicago.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. It's Really?
Trump made a reference that you were safer in Afghanistan than you were in
Yeah.
the city of Chicago. And they went crazy.
You know, there's something to it. You know, Chicago's a big city. Boston's a small city.
Yeah.
But you know, Boston may have 3 shootings on a weekend, 4 or 5, but they don't have 31.
No.
Boston is safe compared to a
Comparative,
lot of
it's-
other cities.
It's very safe compared to a lot of cities.
Yep. Here's something that I cut out, and I said, I'm going to talk to Dwayne about this. A new study is recommending Massachusetts officials address gambling addiction in Asian American communities. Researchers with the university...
I looked for that. I knew I read that, and I
Yep.
couldn't find it to clip it out. I'm glad you got it.
Researchers with the University of Massachusetts Boston presented to state casino regulators this week results from a recent study in Boston's Chinatown. The researchers say they focused on the neighborhood because casinos have long targeted its residents. The study found that Chinatown residents said they visited casinos to relieve stress from low-wage jobs, poverty, and cultural isolation.
Poppycock.
Well, I think there's some of that in Chinatown.
Oh, there is,
Chinatown
but
is
that's
a
not why they
closed
gamble.
community.
It
Yeah.
is. Oh, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
But to blame that on a gambling, they call it addiction, is nuts. If you've ever been to Asia, you're in China, Vietnam, Japan, particularly not so much Japan anymore, but to a certain extent, they gamble more than other people. They've gambled for thousands of years.
Chinese-
It's been a
Chinese and the Japanese, when they come over here, they are treated like royalty in Las Vegas.
oh, absolutely, because they're
Because they're
big
high
gamblers,
rollers,
and
yeah.
they're coming from their country. They're not coming from Chinatown here. They're coming directly from Beijing or wherever they're coming from. Get off and boom, they're in Las Vegas or Macau, for crap's sakes, across
Yep.
the bay from Hong Kong. It's huge. It's a gambling mecca.
Yeah.
And if China would let casinos flourish, China would be loaded with casinos, but they make everything build up in Macau. But it's not a stigma. It's not something wrong. It's part of that culture.
It's innate.
Yeah, it's innate that they like to gamble.
Yeah.
Just certain other cultures like to.
Put their money in a sock.
Yeah, or horse races.
I like
or,
horse races.
Not necessarily for gambling, but some cultures do this and other cultures do that. Now I can remember we thought it was kind of humorous, but when the Vietnamese got paid, they got paid once a month, just like the U.S. did. You would just see just clumps. When I was an advisor. I lived with them. Within an hour, there would be 35, and I could never figure out what they're doing. Something with cards. It's like a poker game. They put down a blanket or some kind of cloth, and there'd be 8 guys gathered around that thing, yelling and screaming and throwing tiles and cards and stuff. And within 2 hours, half of them had lost their whole month's paycheck already.
Do you know what's amazing is in Chinatown, over on Hudson Street.
You know what that is?
Yeah, just before Harrison Avenue.
Yeah, that's right.
There's
I go down that way.
There's a little park, yeah.
Yeah, there's a little park
And
there.
there's chairs and tables. They play those games.
Yep.
You can go in the middle of bloody winter, and they're there, and people huddle around watching these games,
Yep.
playing these, and there's always money on the table. Now, there's nickels and dimes and quarters. Well, I'm sure that means $5 bills, $10 bills,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
$25 bills. Yeah.
If you go to Foxwoods or any casino that has a full-blown casino, not Plain Ridge, and go into the Paiga or the Baccarat or any of those other.
Oh, yeah.
You can go through that whole section, and there's not one non-Asian playing out of 100 play, 5 tables of 10 to a table, maybe, or 8 or whatever. Every single one of them would be Asian, and they're playing for big stakes. and they're mostly not from Chinatown in Boston.
Right, right. Oh yeah, no,
They're from China,
that's right.
and they've got
And they're the ones that are making the big bucks.
yeah. So that you can't blame that this social ill and that social ill is why they gamble from Chinatown.
Right. But the study found they just did Chinatown residents.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. And there's no doubt there's Chinatown. I read a book about Chinatown. It was an expose. It was quite well written and was about New York's Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
It's a closed society.
Oh, absolutely.
No whites allowed. Okay? And they bring illegals over, and they have to work out a plan with an employer to pay for their transport and smuggling
Oh, yeah,
to
that's-
come over.
That's
So
been
you're
on for years.
indentured for 3 or 4 years
Yep.
to work 12, 14 hours a day in a Chinese restaurant or in a Chinese factory. So, and they pay them peanuts because they're taking all their money
Yep.
to pay for them coming to this country.
A form of indentured servitude.
It is, exactly. And poverty, I mean, they don't have any money, these people. And cultural isolation. Well, that is a self-imposed deal. They do not want to mix with the whites in Chinatown. First of all, a lot of it is because of this illegal activity. And a lot of it because what if the health inspectors come and start blowing the whistle on how much time these people are, 15 hours a day? $1 an hour?
Yeah, they're not getting overtime or anything else.
Yeah. So they want to keep the doors closed to Chinatown. And also, I mean, you've got guys in a bedroom, and they build these tiered bunks.
Many
and
people
you've
in
got
apartments
15,
sometimes,
18 guys in a room. I mean, so they don't want building inspectors in there. So this is a very much a closed society. And you know what? They don't become American citizens.
Some don't.
Well, in New York, this book maintained that there was no interest in becoming an American citizen because you'd be exposing what's going on in Chinatown.
Oh yeah, the core. Of
Yeah.
That.
So they want to keep them ignorant and working hard.
Yeah.
And it's the dream of everybody to stuff away $1 or $2 a week and buy their way out of their situation and finally go out and get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That Chinatown core mentality, but there's also another aspect. Now, my daughter-in-law is Chinese, so and I know her relatives and stuff because we don't have any relatives here, so we mostly know hers. They're all very successful,
Right.
and they're all highly educated. They do have a lot of support among themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my son's father-in-law, or Noreen's, my daughter-in-law's father, they had to escape from China during the Cultural Revolution with
Really?
Chairman Mao.
Okay.
Well, they were landowners, and they would have been killed.
Yep.
They would have
Yep.
been sent to the re-education camps, but
Rehabilitation.
rehabilitation,
camps, yeah.
re-education. Probably wouldn't have survived.
Right.
And they traveled by night and hid by day for over a month traveling, and got to Burma, Myanmar today.
Yeah.
So they kind of assimilated into the Burmese. And then my father-in-law, or my son's father-in-law, they would not let him in Burma go to medical school because he was not Burmese native.
Sure.
But he got equivalent of a PhD in chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
So because he was highly educated, he didn't have any trouble getting the U.S. thing to get here in this
Yeah,
country and
easy,
become
yeah.
a citizen. Then he used that and brought in his other relatives,
Mm-hmm.
him and his wife. And
So he did it correctly.
they
Yeah.
brought him in. And you want to see a guy that doesn't want anything or can't stand illegal aliens. He said, we did it the right way.
That's right.
He said, I have spent untold hundreds of thousands of dollars of bringing in my relatives, and they all, they're highly educated today. They've got big jobs.
I have a very good friend, Chinese. He's third generation U.S. Great guy. Just, regular guy. And he was telling me about Chinese restaurants. If you don't skim 30%, you don't make it. And this dad has 3 of them. And hard worker, honest as the day is long.
Oh, yeah, they're all super hard workers.
And the dream is to get out of Chinatown, get out in the suburbs, and become successful. And he and his brother, his folks, it's an American success story. But they did it the right way, too.
Yeah.
This is an amazing story from, of all places, this will surprise you, Bangladesh. The court in eastern Bangladesh sentenced the principal of an Islamic school and 15 others to death on Thursday over the killing of an 18-year-old woman who was set on fire for refusing to drop sexual harassment charges against the principal of the school.
That whole mentality is so foreign to us and so, I think, obnoxious and repulsive. The lack of respect for human life and the lack of respect for women.
Yeah, the women aren't human over
They're
there.
cattle.
Yeah.
Or they're not
No, actually.
chattel, I guess. Is
Yeah.
the same thing.
Chattel, yeah.
I was one time somebody said a woman in a Shia type or Sharia type country
Right.
has a status of more than a goat but less than a camel.
Yeah.
That's where she fits into the hierarchy.
In the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing, and you see it so clearly in some of these stories that come out. And the people over there, ho hum.
Yeah, it's just the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, gee whiz, huh?
Yeah, honor killings.
Yep.
Stone a relative because she brought supposedly dishonor to your family.
Well, she went out with a guy without her brother being there,
Yeah.
or spoke to a guy.
Yeah, or went out without her burqa on.
Yeah.
That's enough to stone them to death.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. All right, now here's another tragic tale. And I need you to sign in on this one. Chesapeake, Virginia will be asking this Halloween
I have no opinions.
after the city passed an ordinance capping the activity at the age of 14. So that's less restrictive than the previous ordinance, which warned people older than 12 years old could go to jail. Now, they have an ordinance that says no one older than 12 was allowed to trick or treat, and that anyone caught doing so could be fined as much as $100, arrested, and sent to jail for 6 months. Now that's on the books in Chesapeake, Virginia. It's been 49 years since it was passed, and there's been no arrests for overage tricking or
I'm not
treating.
surprised. That's like killing a gnat with a sledgehammer.
So, rather than just dissolve this stupid thing, they upped the age to 14. Now, and let statute sit.
Yeah, I can see. Basically, I can see why the statue is there, why they want to keep it.
Yes.
Because in some areas, in some towns, trick or treating is an excuse for vandalism.
Yep.
And it's not the little kids out there getting candy. It's the 16, 17, 18-year-olds or 19 or 21-year-olds that are out raising hell.
Yep.
And in fact, Detroit used to have, I don't know if they still do it or not, but the night before Halloween what was it called? Devil's Night or
Devil's
something?
Night.
And they used to go out and set fires,
Yeah, set
buildings on
fires.
fires
Yeah.
and stuff.
Building fires.
Yeah, that wasn't trick or treating kids.
No.
That were young
Adults.
vandals.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Those were criminals.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's I think that's what they're trying to curtail.
Yeah.
But it's awful hard to put a. You are at this age, you can't do it anymore, unless. But we lived in Brockton before we came here, and it got to the point where, as Brockton changed, Halloween changed, and we lived on a circle where you entered from the top and you went around the corner. It's sort of like the downtown Foxborough there, but there was no side streets. There was no in and out.
Right.
And God, there must have been 70, 80 kids. It seemed like there was thousands of them, but there was probably 30, 40 homes, and everybody seemed to have a bunch of kids. They're all Irish, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
They breed like rabbits.
yeah, that's right. So, so Halloween was always really busy. I mean, they started at 4:00 until 6:30.
Yeah.
And the parents, we knew, got 5.
Okay.
We knew all the parents. You knew everybody on the circle. And towards the end, when Brockton started to change, the trick or treating would die down 6:30, 7. Then about 9 it would start up again, but it would with cars would come on the circle, and they were adults. We call them adults, 17, 18, 19. Very threatening.
Mm-hmm.
Trick or treat.
Yeah.
Is that all you got? Are you sure you can't get more than that? How about some money? It got to the point where it was no longer a
fun thing.
a fun thing.
For
It was an
little kids.
intimidating thing after a while, and you knew what the bottom line was. If you didn't do something, they were going to do something to your property. So that was not good, and nobody wanted to see that happen.
No. It's you take something innocent like that and see it spoiled by a criminal element.
And these were coming in. They weren't from the neighborhood.
No.
They were driving cars.
The kids that in your circle should be the ones.
Oh, that was even good for adults, because usually one of us had to stay in the house to give out candy, and one went along. I usually volunteered to go around because they had a thing in the neighborhood. Oh, kid got a candy, you got a shot of whiskey or a beer. So by the time you made the circle around, hell, you were happier than else.
Like my old deal of, I always volunteered to go Christmas shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd go down the South Shore Plaza.
3.
And good, okay. And there was a package store.
Yep.
And I'd get a 6-pack of Miller High Life, bring it to the car. I'd have one to motivate me, and I'd go in, and I'd go around, and I'd buy one present, and I'd bring it back out to the car. Well, while I was out there, I'd have another one.
Yep.
By the time I had the 6 beers drank, well, I was all done shopping for the night.
Shopping. Yep.
Yep. Well, I didn't want to buy everything.
That's right.
Then I wouldn't be able to go tomorrow night.
That's right.
A man was convicted of voting in 2 states, up in Atkinson, New Hampshire. Robert A. Bell, 77, just a kid, was convicted of voting in 2 states during the November 2018 election. He voted in Florida, and he knowingly voted in New Hampshire. He faces up to 7 years in
That's
state
right.
prison and up to a $4,000 fine, and may lose his right to vote. I'll tell you what, he should lose his right to vote, and a $100 fine or $200 fine would seem to me to be appropriate.
I have a question though for you. How did he get caught?
Don't know.
How could,
Somehow or other, the New Hampshire Attorney General's office got him.
I can't imagine. See, but just the idea of records in Florida being transferred to New Hampshire or vice versa. And
He expected to be sentenced November 7th, Bell previously turned himself into authorities on April 19th after a warrant was issued for his arrest. Who issued the warrant? It had to have been a computer
Yeah,
that caught him voting in both places.
apparently.
Wow. Well, I'm all for that. 1 minute left to go. All right. So, folks, we just got the word that we have talked too long.
Yep.
And it's
Not the
time.
first time we've been accused
No.
of that.
Not at all. So it's time to bail out. Thank you all for tuning in. I certainly hope you learned something, enjoyed something, or, well, beats the heck out of watching Dancing with the Stars.
That's right.
Yeah. So, listen, we've still got a lot of stuff to go through. So, come back again next time, and we'll see what we get up our sleeves. A hairy arm is up this
There
one.
you go.
Folks, have a good one. Take
care.
care.
Goodbye.